Good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Today is Thursday, May 28th. I had to check. I wasn't sure what day of the week it was. How's it going? How are people doing? If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. On this channel, we do vanilla, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I still think it's important to understand those things. I still think it's important to understand how the internet works, the three things that a browser renders natively: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It would be an understatement to say, okay, how do I want to start this conversation? I have so many thoughts and feelings right now. So I have started to post more about my thoughts on AI. It's literally nothing that I haven't already said in a live stream. And I don't get tons of views on these streams. I mean, I've never even gotten 1,000 views on a live stream before. I'm just so used to my small audience. Occasionally somebody drops in and tells me how wrong I am, and those comments don't bother me at all. I welcome the conversation. But I don't get a lot of pushback from my audience about my thoughts on AI and my experiences on AI. So I naively didn't even think that the videos that I posted would get much attention. And to be very, very clear, they're far from being viral, but they are videos that have gotten more views than anything else on my channel. And the experience of reading those comments has been eye-opening. Once I've sort of processed the fact that I shouldn't be taking those comments personally, I have tried to just read them through a different lens. Like, first of all, it's such an emotional topic. And I also think in my over a decade of experience as a developer, I've never worked with a more emotional group of people than the people who are in the development community. Strong opinions, lots of feelings, lots of thoughts, lots of emotions. So there's that. And the comment section has reflected a lot of that, but then also you add in this conversation about AI and people have very strong feelings. And some of those videos have attracted an audience that are just anti-AI in general. Like, they are deeply opposed to AI playing any role in society. And I can see that. I can see why people think that. My own experience as a developer, and it's also, it makes me think of a comment where somebody told me that my experience was nothing more than overconfidence and delusion. I mean, okay, maybe. I don't think that's exactly true. Anyhow, my experience is not the experience of other people. So, I can only talk about the things that I've personally experienced and the things that I've personally witnessed. I can't talk about things that I haven't experienced firsthand. Why would I do that? How could I do that? So a lot of people have shared their personal stories about being replaced. They have shared their personal experience and what they see going on in the development community. And it's been eye-opening. Some of it has been a little bit rude, but when I look behind that layer of kind of what I consider to be rudeness, I just see somebody who's been deeply affected by what's going on right now. And I totally get it, because I've spent thousands of hours of my life getting good at this and practicing and believing in it. And also, being a developer is very closely aligned to my identity as a human. And I think it is for a lot of us. Yeah, I really do. I think it's very closely aligned to our identity. And when you take into account the hours and the struggle, being replaced so easily, it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's really been tough for me. But then there are also people in my comments who are like, what's the problem? Why can't you get on board with this? And I'm like, well, I think I've been clear about what the problem is. Well, it's not even that it's a problem, it's just that I'm coming to terms with it. Okay. So all of that aside, I have seen the light. And the reality is even though I have always enjoyed AI, I've always loved ChatGPT for single-handedly moving my career forward, but also recognizing its weaknesses and where it falls short, I have never been anti-AI. Never, not once. And I think I've been clear about that. Also, I think that I have not stayed current with current AI workflows, and I totally recognize that now. So, my channel is always going to be about vanilla and practice and improving your skills if that's what you want to do. But I think I would be doing a disservice if I wasn't also demonstrating modern AI workflows. And a modern AI workflow is not copying and pasting code into ChatGPT and getting into a wrestling match with the results. I think a modern AI workflow is like the local agentic AI, right? So I'm going to be working on that over the next couple of weeks to incorporate some of that into my content. I think it's important. Professionally, it will only help me. Here's the thing. Here's the other thing that I'm coming to terms with. Well, not even coming to terms with, just realizing. I've always coded outside of work. Not consistently, but for the most part. I have had long stretches where I didn't. But for the most part, I have always coded outside of work. If there was something I was interested in or something that I wanted to do, I did it. In my job at St. Thomas, I was given as much time as I needed to learn things on the job. And that's probably, in hindsight, probably why I didn't spend much time outside of work. I learned what I needed to do to get my job done, and I was given the freedom and the time to do that during my working hours. That was just the environment that I was lucky enough to be in. It was I would never say that there wasn't a sense of urgency to get tasks and projects completed, but not compared to what I'd experienced at other jobs, especially at agencies where we had billable hours and everything got billed to a client. We didn't keep track of time. We didn't have billable hours. That just wasn't the environment that I was in at St. Thomas. So I was very, very fortunate that I had that learning time on the job. And I just didn't have a lot of emotional energy to spend time outside of work coding. And part of why I left St. Thomas and started this YouTube channel is because I wanted to do my own thing. I missed that. And I didn't want to do both. I didn't want to have a full-time job and code outside of work. And financially, I was in a position to make that decision. And I have no regrets. Okay, my point is this. I would be doing, I think, people who watch this channel a disservice if I wasn't showing a modern AI workflow. And I find myself in a position where I need to learn how to do that. So I think we're going to do it together. I still really feel strongly about writing my own front-end code and practicing JavaScript. The last couple of months has been like my greatest joy to finally sit down and learn how to write JavaScript. So here we are. What do you think? Tell me. Tell me in the comments what you think. Tell me in the chat what you think. A lot of people on YouTube have not been shy about letting me know what they think in the comments. So there's that. But I also really appreciate, even for the people who are extremely snarky, I even appreciate them because it means they took the time to click on the video and watch the video and tell me what they were thinking. And that all matters to me. It really, really does. And I had one comment that this whole thing with like dealing with comments is new to me. I just don't get tons of comments on my videos. So I'm managing comments now in YouTube. That's a new thing for me. And I had to go to the section of the comments in YouTube Studio that were held for review. Okay. And so it's usually something like somebody used a word that was on my block list, but the comment itself was fine. So whatever, I approved all of those. There was one comment that YouTube was hiding that was potentially offensive. or inappropriate. And it was like, are you sure you want to see this comment? And I'm like, oh my God, what did this person say about me? What did you say about me? Am I gonna am I gonna go sit in the corner and cry? No, the comment was, you are left behind because you are a woman. If that's your worst, I'm okay. I can handle it. So I thought that was funny. So I mean, sexism is like a whole different conversation in development. I actually had people when I was starting my career, I had a very good friend who was like my advisor when I was in graduate school, getting my degree in technical communication. And she said to me that she really warned me against the sexism in the tech community and the development community. And I'm not naive. I know that sexism exists, but honestly, I just put blinders on. I was like, I don't care. I want to do this. I don't care. I don't know if I've ever been denied any opportunity because I'm a woman. I literally don't know. I've definitely met people who I knew didn't like me, and I always just assumed it was because they thought I had a shitty personality. Why else would you not like somebody? So I never once thought, oh, they don't like me because I'm a woman. They just don't like me because maybe I'm kind of being an asshole right now. And if you don't think that I'm not occasionally difficult to work with, I'm here to tell you that I sometimes am. And if you don't like me, fine. I don't really care. So is any of that a result of sexism? I literally couldn't tell you because that is a part of my life where I have just put on blinders. Anything that I wanted to do, I did it. And I didn't care what anybody else thought. And I've never not accomplished what I set out to accomplish. Never. It hasn't always been easy. I haven't always gotten every opportunity that I wanted. But for anybody to say, oh, you're not where you are because you're a woman, I know that that person is probably just trying to be rude. But they're like, if we want to really have a serious conversation about this, I believe anybody can have anything they want if they are willing to do the work. I believe that, and you will never convince me otherwise. So, how's it going? Loki is here. Hello. Loki says, I am late. You are not late. You are right on time. Fernando is here and says, I love your videos, Angela. I have learned a lot from them. Thank you. I appreciate that because I also had somebody in my comments tell me that I was using a tech stack that was 16 years old and that I should be ashamed of myself. And I think that's a bit harsh. I don't think that that's necessary. Asante is here and says, lol. I don't know what you're reacting to. So Osley says, I feel like AI is to hand coding as hand coding is to assembly. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that means. And Asante might be reacting to my comments on sexism and feminism. I'm not really sure. I'm not a feminist, by the way. I don't even think I understand what the term feminist means anymore. I think it's like changed so much over the last 10 years, but I'm pretty sure I'm not a feminist. I feel like I'm just a human being who, if I want something, I do the work and I earn it. That's it. That's all I feel like I am. So, and of course, Malik Robinson is here. Go Elmo. He is our mod in the chat, and we love Malik. So there's that. I will say this. My final comments on AI for now are that I'm not gonna lie, my channel has gotten more attention from the 2 videos that I made talking about AI than almost all of my other comments, all of my other content. So, I I'm not trying to be like clickbaity or rage baity, but I think it's interesting. I'm obviously happy because I've gotten a lot of views and a lot of subscribers. I'm here to tell you that I've made no money from getting even a few thousand views. It's literally pennies. It's like, I think my last video had 3,000 views and I had earned like $1.64 in AdSense. I don't know who's making money on this platform. I honestly have no clue. Yeah, so I'm not definitely not making money, but the channel has grown. Like I've literally gotten hundreds of subscribers from those videos, and the streams are a lot more active, and that's really cool. And I genuinely have so many thoughts about AI. So I think that I will continue to make that content and see how it's going. And I am getting a crash course in protecting my mental health and whether or not I actually read comments. So there's that. Osler says, I wrote a sarcastic comment and YouTube blocked it. Oh, sorry about that, buddy. Yeah, that was what I was reacting to. Asante says he was reacting to my comments about sexism. Tell me if you think that if you have experienced or observed sexism in development. I think most of my audience are men, but I'm making an assumption. I don't know for sure. I think most of my audience is men. Have you like observed sexism? Have you worked with females who you think weren't getting the opportunities they deserved because they were women? I don't want to be in denial about the existence of sexism. I know that it exists. My own personal philosophy is that I can have what I want if I'm willing to do the work. That's just, I don't know. That's just how I operate. So, yeah, a whole dollar. Hang on, I'll show you. I have no, I have no, I don't mind. I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating because I also had somebody who uh, told me that I was only making this type of content because it was earning me money. So I just got monetized in April, so it's been a little over a month. So let's see here, right here. 3,134 views, estimated revenue $1.62. So dynamic blog from scratch, 290 views, 76 cents. So this was my video just making an argument for you to build one vanilla project, 181 views, 24 cents. Here's the big one right here. Here's the big one. I've been a developer for 13 years and still feel behind. 6,499 views, $14.31. So, if you think that I'm making this content, if you think I'm making, no, I had like one person who kind of like accused me of making a video, making content about AI simply for the views and the cash. You are somebody who doesn't know anything about AdSense or how monetization really works. And I'm coming to terms with what I really thought I was going to be able to earn on YouTube. I don't mind sharing these thoughts and feelings at all. There may have been a time where you could get monetized and really make money on YouTube and turn this into a full-time income. I think I have a couple things working against me. I'm definitely doing something that is extremely niche and counter to the AI era that we're moving into, right? So there's that. But when I heard that Kyle from WebDev Simplified, who has 1.77 million subscribers and made less than $32,000 the preceding year, that was shocking. That was eye-opening to me. I was like, this may not be the income that I thought it was going to be. Yeah, Malik says, sheesh, big ballin' now, about $3 or $4. Yeah. So I think in total, everything that I've earned, and YouTube doesn't pay out AdSense until you've earned at least $100. I think I'm up to a total of $44 since I got monetized around I think it was April 13th was when I finally got monetized. What was I saying? Oh, Brad Traversy and I think Kyle Cook have both been very open about the fact that AdSense is not, they're not earning money from AdSense like they once were, and that's because things are changing. It's also because I have a channel that is very niche. A lot of people think that what I'm doing is foolish. that I had one person in my comments tell me that I was single-handedly going to set back the development community if I continued to do this, that I was using a 16-year-old tech stack and that I deserved to be left behind. I mean, I don't listen to those comments, okay? I read them, I think about them, I have enough emotional intelligence to understand that that probably says more about the commenter than it does about me. But I do think that those comments are really interesting. They're worth reading, they're worth listening to, and they're worth evaluating. I don't have a problem with that. Um, but it's also the combination of the monetization and the conversations about AI and realizing that, yes, I'm not using a modern workflow and that and seeing people's experiences that are not my own in terms of job loss and not being able to find a new job. Those are very real things. And I am grateful to have my eyes opened to them. And I am going to make some changes on this channel to reflect a more modern workflow, but I'm also not going to stop building vanilla because I love it so much. So yeah, I don't know. I just have lots of thoughts and feelings. And I love this audience. I love being able to go live 4 days a week and talk to people and share, like, work out my thoughts and hear what the chat says. I don't know. Um, Osloy says, what's wrong with doing something because it makes money anyways? Nothing. Oh, no, 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 no. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for that comment. There is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. Anytime you add value, it is okay to get paid for the value that you add. There is nothing wrong with that. The world, let's be very real about the world that we live in. You need money to live, especially if you live in a Western country or you live in the US. It's very expensive to be a Westerner. And I like my life and I like my lifestyle, but it requires money, right? Osloy says people work regular jobs as employees for the money. Yes. Asante says, what you are doing is not foolish. It is helping me. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I do have a lot of people in my comments and in my chat telling me that it is helping them too. And even though I am ready to, like, sort of up my game with a more modern workflow, I am not going to stop coding from scratch because I enjoy it. And I do think it's still important, and I do think that we still need to understand the code that we're pushing out. So, I know not everybody agrees, but this is what I think for now. So, well, that was fun. Yeah, I'll show this stuff more often. I don't mind. I think it's fun. And I don't think I would ever make dedicated content showing people, like, my AdSense. I know that those videos get a lot of views. People really like that, but I think in a stream it would be fun to show you guys because I'm sure you're curious because I've always been curious. Now you know. So if you would ever like to accuse me of making content just for the money, here you go. I'm happy to share this data with you. So, yeah. But 362, this is a little small, 362 new subscribers in the last 28 days. I've never had that many new subs in the last 28 days. At most, this number is between 150 to 200. It's good if it's 200. So I definitely brought in a lot of new subscribers making that content. So I will continue to make content, obviously, that brings in views and subscribers. The point of this channel is to grow it. I can't grow if people aren't actually watching the content and subscribing. But I'm not going to make content just because it gets clicks, because why would I do that? If you think I would put myself through the stress of those comments just for clicks, you have another thing coming. So, and Osloy says, what I meant by the assembly comment is assembly is a different skill than higher level coding. Got it. I assumed it had something to do with something development related. I've heard the term assembly before. I'm just not entirely clear on what it is. So I trust you, Osloy, that it was a funny clever comment because you are a funny, clever guy. So, okay, should we get started? Shall we get started? We have this little dashboard that we're working on. I do think that we're at a point where we need to start thinking about some of the responsive styles. I am at a loss for what this is going to look like in as a responsive view. So this set of mockups did not come with mobile view. This set of mockups was actually about 10 years old. I found it on ThemeForest. So here's what I was thinking. Let's look at Pinterest. This has always been a really good source of information for me. So let's check out Pinterest. What's happening on Pinterest today? Can you see why I like Pinterest? Look at this. It's just cute haircuts and little home decor, paintings, drawing, pottery, ooh, cute manicures. What is not to love? What is not? Ooh, look at these highlights. Love this. Love this. Knitting. I'm a knitter. I like to knit. Okay, Angela, focus. Dashboard, UI, mobile. Look at that. It's like it knows. Okay, so let's zoom in a little here. So it's not giving, okay, so I feel like maybe we want to take like a tabbed approach. I kind of like this. Again, right here, this kind of has like a tabbed approach. The resolution isn't super good on this. So if we have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, how are we breaking that up into sections? Maybe the home screen of a dashboard can be these things. Maybe that's the takeaway here. And Osloy says you can write functionally much faster in high-level code, but you can write code that is much more efficient if you write assembly. A lot of cases, higher level code is worth the loss of efficiency. I believe you. I believe you. I think that Osloy does something a little bit different than I do. My impression is, well, you've been very clear about the fact that you're not like a UI person, you're not a CSS person. You're definitely more of a backend person. I know you found me during the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript, and I could tell from your comments in the chat that you definitely have a deeper level of understanding of programming than I do. I would say that I'm really not a programmer, right? I'm more of a UI person who wants to round out their skills as a front-end developer. Okay, so Do we sort of dashboard UI mobile? This is interesting. Maybe these things move to the side. Maybe these things move to the side. What's up here gets moved to the side because mobile will be off canvas. I think that's interesting. So what if we had icons that represented language and mega? Well, first of all, are we even going to have a mega menu? This is something that I included just because it was in the mockup, but maybe this is just search. What if this area is just search? And then what represents language? A flag? Although English is not uniquely American, what's an icon that represents language? And then I think for desktop, showing the user's name is fine, but then maybe on mobile, we hide the user's name and it's just a profile picture and a caret. And then instead of these things being horizontal across the top, the navigation is hidden off canvas and we do something like this, where this top level header now sits on the left. Oh, and Osloy says, I think you can call yourself a programmer now. Well, that's a compliment. Thank you, Osloy. I appreciate that. What do we think of this? I like this. And then everything else would just be cards that we're sort of stacking and rearranging, right? And we need to fix this too. So, I set the height of this to be 100 VH, viewport height. And I'm glad I did that because I didn't notice that we had underlines here. So this is good because I was wondering how I was going to style the focus hover active of these links. So now I know. So now that we'll fix this, we just need to change it from 100 VH to 100%. But before we do that, we'll fix this. So we will have a focus hover active. So there's that. Okay. And I actually don't have, hang on, I don't even have my files out yet. Angela, what's wrong with you? Well, I really enjoyed that. I was like, do I have a coherent enough thought to start talking about what I've seen in the comments from other people? I wasn't sure I should even say anything. I was worried that I was too emotional to say something because it sort of struck a chord with me. But I'm glad I decided to say something because the people who come and watch my streams are generally very supportive. You don't always have to agree with me. I appreciate feedback and I don't know, it's just a chance. The streams have just turned into such a good place for me to sort of like think out loud and process my own thoughts about the things that are going on, right? It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. I really like it. So thanks for that. Okay. And my giant head is in the way once again. So I'm going to take myself off screen. Okay. So let's fix this. And the whole thing is linkable, but we're just getting, it's just happening on this word. So that's good. That's one less thing I have to worry about. Oh yeah. So it's not affecting the SVGs at all. That's really good. That is a happy accident. Okay, so we just really need to reverse engineer the text for the main nav. And I do have separate styles for main nav. Okay. So we could change this to transparent, but it already matches the background. So I think all we have to do is change the focus hover active to our baby blue color. I think that's all we have to do. So I think we're just going to change the text decoration color to the baby blue. What's happening here? I'm sure it's just not specific enough. Oh, right here. Text decoration color. Hang on. Did I spell something wrong? Oh my God, Angela, you're on the GitHub page. Sorry, hang on. Boy, it's been a while since I've done that. There it is. There. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want the underline to extend the entire width of this container, but clearly the clickable area is the entire container. So let's get up here, right here. That I did want. So the clickable area is this entire container, but I only want that underline on the word. So that's beautiful. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. And then the other thing that we need to do is just change this to just 100%. And in the future, we might end up changing that. There we go. We might end up making this scroll inside its own container. But for now, it's fine. We don't need to do that. I'm not thinking about that at all. I think we could eventually make this a sticky header and do some more of those UI enhancement type things. For now, I'm not particularly worried about that. So, okay, the next thing that we need to do is let's do the navigation first. So I was thinking, well, if you have this button here and you are showing the navigation, this kind of implies to me that on desktop, you would be able to hide the navigation, right? So that means that this is, I know I set this to aria expanded false. This is actually aria expanded true, isn't it? So we need to write JavaScript that by default has the active class menu expanded and make this so people can close it on desktop. So that's what we're going to do next. Let's find our button. Form. Here it is. So aria expanded true. So that means this is going to be true by default. I feel like we can just go ahead and put on the body class menu active. I mean, why not? Why do we have to do that programmatically on page load? It's just going to be active by default, and you can close it if you want to, right? There's no reason to programmatically do that. Just make it active. No different than like a tab or an accordion. I think that's it. So where are we going to put this? Components or utilities? I think utilities. Okay, so we'll say navigation.js, and then we'll do export default init navigation. Function. There we go. Import, no, stop. Import from, hang on, why aren't you, export default function. Why are you getting that in? Automatically? Shouldn't you be? No, that's not what I want to do. Aren't you supposed to do this automatically? JavaScript? Do I not have this as type module? Is that why? I do. How can I be expected to remember how to do that myself? The audacity. The audacity. I don't think that's what I want. Where did I just do this? Yeah, why isn't it just following? There we go. Okay. We always get there eventually. Okay, so what do we need to do here? We need the body, which is equal to document body. We need our menu open buttons. right here. So we need our menu button. I think we technically will have, no, we're only going to have one. So that's a change. I usually have two, but we're only going to have one. So we'll say const button equals document query selector menu button. And then we need our nav container. Let's call it nav. Document query selector. Whoops. Navigation. What else? I don't think we need anything else. And do we need the escape key to close things? No, because I wouldn't want the escape key. I don't think we need the escape key to close anything. Usually that's what I do. I don't think that we need it though. It's the escape key to close navigation is not an accessibility requirement. And a off-canvas drawer is generally a mobile feature. It's not a desktop feature. So I include it for people who maybe you zoomed in on your window or your screen and your browser and in your view went into mobile view. You have the option of using the escape key to close it. But again, it's not an accessibility requirement. It's a nice to have. But if the navigation is essentially mobile for desktop and mobile, and we have this dedicated button and it's part of the UI, do we need the escape key to close the navigation? I don't think so. I actually think it would be weird. What if you hit the escape key and suddenly the navigation just closed? That's what that would mean. So I don't think we need to do that. Priya is here and says, love from India. Well, love from America. Happy to have you. Anathay, I hope I'm saying that correctly, is here and says, why do you choose JavaScript instead of React? I know React is a JavaScript library, but why? It's just a personal preference. I've never used React. I know that's very scandalous these days. I've used Vue and Angular, lots of Vue. I used Vue for 7 years at my last job, so that's what I'm most familiar with. I've done a handful of things with Angular. I choose vanilla for my channel because it is underrepresented on YouTube, I think. I think it's a good niche, and I just enjoy it, right? And here's the great thing about not using a library or a framework is that you don't need Node, you don't need a package manager, you don't need dependencies. You can just open up index.html, style.css, script.js, and start building stuff. You don't need anything to make that work. That's all it is. It's just practicing vanilla for the pure enjoyment of it. So I hope that that helps. Not anti-React at all, to be very clear. I think people should do whatever they love doing. Honestly, do whatever makes you feel good. Do whatever you love doing. If it's something that gets you a job, do it. If it's something that you enjoy, do it. If it's something you're curious about, do it. If you do it because you hate it, if you hate coding, do it. Whatever your reason is, do whatever you want. Do what you enjoy. So, hopefully that helps. Where was I? Okay, I don't think we need the escape key. Yeah, I had to talk through that. So I think all that we really need, oh look, I'm gonna look at what I usually do. I just had GitHub open. I'm gonna open it again. I don't want to look at Colorado because there's so much, we wrote so much JavaScript for those submenus that I ended up not even liking. Okay, so let's take a look at this. My menu toggle is so simple. We don't even have to for each to our buttons. All we need is an event listener on the button to check if the body is active and to change this attribute. That's literally all that we need to do. So, okay, I'm going to put this down here. Yeah, Osloy says pure HTML, CSS, JavaScript has the benefit of not having to set up any tooling. Okay, so we're just going to say button, add event listener, or this is going to be the easiest menu ever. And then we'll say const is active equal to body class list contains menu active. So we're just going to check and see if the body has menu active, which it will on page load because we're just adding it right to our markup. And then we'll say if is active button set attribute aria expanded. If it's active, we're going to set the attribute to true, which it is by default. Else button set attribute aria expanded false. So do we want to do that the other way around since the default is active? Maybe when we want to say if it's not active, false, else, true. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I suppose we need to. So here's nothing's happening. Oh, and I didn't actually change any. Well, but we should be toggle, not contains. Toggle. There we go. So let's make sure that our attribute is getting so here's our button. Aria expanded true. False. So false, and we remove our body class, true, and we have our body class. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. So now everything else we can do with CSS. So let's do that next. So menu active on the body is what will control everything. Boy, this is simple. Simplifies a lot of things. We don't even need nav. We just need body and button. Okay. So there is going to be a media query, but I have to think about this. There is going to be a media query for mobile, obviously. Okay, well, let's start with desktop. So if menu is active, then navigation is So the width of our navigation is controlled by, this is just the opposite from how I usually do this. So the width of our navigation is controlled by what's happening in main, right here, right? This 300 pixels. But I do think that we still need to, that's an interest, I hadn't thought of the consequences of what that might be to do that there. Which means that the width here is 300 pixels. I think we can put 300 pixels in both places. But I don't know if it matters. So I would say position static. Top 0, left 0. Although, no, you don't need top and left if it's static, and it's static by default. So then menu active, navigation. Okay, we are going to want to transform, translate X, negative 300 pixels, right? No, this is 0. This is going to be 0. And then this is going to be negative 300 pixels. So maybe position does position matter? If I say 1 FR here and 300 pixels here, what happens? Oh, and actually, this is the opposite. We do want this to be, if it's active, it's 0. This probably doesn't. No, if it's not active, it would be negative 300 pixels. And then we can transition this. This is the opposite of how we usually do it. So we're going to transition. We also need to control the visibility. So visibility would be hidden. And the visibility would be visible. So then we would transition visibility, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out, and transform. Transform, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. I think this is the opposite. Because this is going to be the default state. So I think this has to come first. Not sure. We know it. I don't know if I need to do that. We might have to take a different approach. Yeah, we might have to take a different approach. I have to think about this because normally, what do I want to look at here? Let's look at our scenic. So here's our button right here, hidden by default. Menu active. Visibility hidden, position fixed. I bet it's because of the fixed positioning. Yeah, I bet it's because of the fixed positioning. I wonder if it's because it's either that or is it because I'm removing a class or adding a class? I feel like that doesn't matter though. Here, if I'm removing a class, I should still get the transition. Here, if I'm adding a class, I'm getting the transition. So here's the navigation right here. Because we get the transition both ways here, right? The transition is on the visibility and on the transform. Hidden, translate Y. Visible. I don't know why why is the browser doesn't like to show me. Overridden by animation styles. Open the animations panel. Why don't you just show me the code that I wrote? How about that? Is it because I'm using 100% instead of... Maybe it's because, well, but the default would be is 0, right? You set a 0 and then you transition. But I don't know if this would matter. I think it's because we're removing the class. So maybe this does need to be on the original. Did we try that? Did I move that before I should have? Yeah. So the default would be, maybe the default is positive 300 pixels. No, it's 0. But if it's, no, it's negative 300 pixels. And then it's 0 here. Hmm. I think it maybe is I think it has to be the opposite. I think we have to add menu or add an if it's maybe if it's active by default, it shouldn't rely on a class to be active by default. So on click, you're adding a class to hide the menu. So maybe this is menu hidden. Maybe it's menu hidden. And we just need a different strategy. So the navigation is visible by default, hidden, and this is menu hidden. So the default value is 0, and this is negative 300 pixels. So that would mean that we are toggling menu hidden, which means if it's active, maybe we need to change this to is hidden. So if is hidden, aria expanded false, else aria expanded true. So this is like backwards from what we normally do. Wow, that transition really does not want. So this makes me think that this transition is really dependent on fixed positioning. That's what that makes me think, because that's the only thing that we're not doing differently. Okay, so maybe not fixed, but at least maybe it at least has to be absolute. We'll try it. Position relative. The index 0. Boy, just when you think you have navigation figured out, man. So we'll take top 0, left 0. We have a width of 300 pixels. It still doesn't matter. So the positioning doesn't matter. Well, we'll figure out the animation. I'm not sure why the animation doesn't work. Did I spell something wrong? That's all I can think of. X is horizontal, the x-axis. You need visibility. Well, what if we take out visibility? Yeah, see? Why is visibility jacking up my styles? The visibility is important because if it's hidden, you don't want it to be visible to screen readers. Do I have these backwards? Do I need to flip the order of these? That would be interesting if that was true. No, that doesn't matter. You can absolutely transition visibility. If it was the opposite, I think this would work. So if this was negative 300 pixels and this was 0, no. So why does my visibility work everywhere else but in this one situation? Let's look at a couple of our other sites because we do this navigation all the time. Here's our coffee site. So here's our header. Here's our button. Here's our nav. Right here. So our default value is left negative 300 but still translate x 0 as a base, visibility hidden, transform and visibility are the transitions. And then when we add our body class, the visibility is visible and we translate x 300 pixels. So what am I missing? Why does this work? Why do I get the transition here? And I get it here too. It's just on the y-axis instead of the x-axis. Andrew is here. Good morning. Good morning, Andrew. Thanks for coming to hang out. Andrew found me, I think, recently, just in the last couple of weeks. Lots of very nice comments on the videos. Appreciate that. Anathay is saying how to master transitions while you're looking at it. You gotta just sit here and figure it out, right? Sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle session. So maybe we want to, it doesn't even matter. I know by default we want this to be 0. And I know that when it's visible, we want it to be, or when it's hidden, we want it to be negative 300 pixels. We want this to be visible. And we want this to be hidden. So the width is 300. The transform, translate x is 0. It's like our base. When we hide the menu, it's visibility hidden. And we move it off canvas. So I am temporarily going to take out visibility And we are going to solve that problem another day. We're going to figure that out a different time. It's not accessible to not do that. Although we are also going to include a skip nav. So there's more work to be done. There's more mysteries to solve. For now, this is fine. So this makes me think that we should go back to our original strategy. I don't think this was a timing issue. So I'm actually just gonna control my Z way back to the way it was. So this is going to be menu active. We want to make sure that we've got menu active on default, by default. And then let's make sure that we are updating. Where's our button? Right here. Aria expanded true. That's yes. False. There we go. All right. We'll figure it out eventually. I don't know. I'm ready to move on. Let's do something else. One moment, please. Where are we at on time? Oh, an hour and 20 minutes. It's a lot. Okay. Mobile. How are we gonna make this work on mobile? So technically this would be hidden. Technically this would be visible. Well, all right, let's put this media query here. So what is our max width going to be? Oh, we need to change this back to, oh, it is 100%. Uh-oh, what'd I do? Whoops. Okay. Yeah, I think we are going to have to set this as DVH and make sure that that's scrolling inside the container. But can't we just make it also so, here, isn't it stretch by default? Shouldn't you just stretch? Or is it just because the body isn't? Yeah, I think the body needs to have a min height. Clearly needs to have a min height. We don't usually run into that, do we? So we'll just do min height. I'm going to say 100 DVH, and that's gonna, no, really? Maybe I have to put this, maybe we have to put it on the main container. There we go. Okay. So the main container needs to have a minimum height of a dynamic viewport height, but this I want to be 100%. And then of course, our main container for grid will be stretch, which is the default value, but I'm going to keep it in anyways. And that's just to make sure that they're both stretching all the way. So, okay. All right. Where were we? Okay. So yes, what's our media query? So we're at 100% now. How does this hold up? I think last time we decided that this was good to about 1200 pixels. So that's a little sooner. We can either make this mobile at 1200 pixels. My preference is that it lasts till at least 1024, or we can make this squishy. And I like the approach we used. I changed this back to 1FR, but I made this with 300. And that somehow worked. That math just seems to work. I'm not sure why, but it does. So you can make something 1FR, but then give the child a fixed width. So, I mean, I'm glad that works. I'm not complaining. I just don't understand why that works. Maybe at 1200 pixels, we just change this width. Maybe that's what we need to do. So we just change it enough that it's okay until 1024. So we change the navigation width. What do we want to change it to? A percentage? Like a viewport, like a calculation of the viewport width. So what if we just did something a little bit flexible? I don't think 300 VW equates to 300 pixels, but yeah, that's definitely obviously not going to work. So let's figure this out. And whatever we do, it's going to have to match up here. So that's fine. I don't mind that. So 25 seems to match. We would just have to mimic the same thing in the header. I think that's completely fine. So what do we think of something like that? That will definitely get us. That would get us to like 960 easily if we did that. That's a good approach. Yeah, I like that. And then we're going to do the same thing for the header. Where's our header? Where's our... Pretty sure we used grid up here too, right? Okay, what is this? Yeah, we did do the same thing here. So, okay, we can take the same approach here. So I'm going to change this back to 1FR, but I'm going to give this a width of 300 pixels because for some reason that works. And then I don't think I have a media query here yet. I'm going to put my media query here. The logo nav container. The width can be 25 VW. Nice. And then our mobile styles can start here. And I do feel like we have every do things fit though? Actually. Okay, so what do we need to start hiding? We need to start hiding other things, I think, at 1200. So I think that well, first of all, do we need this mega right here? I'm actually thinking we should take this out and this can just be a search input up here. I don't think we're going to use it. So if we take that out, that's going to simplify our lives. And I don't have a plan for it anyways. So let's just do that. So here's our mega container, search container. And I'm pretty sure I flexboxed this. So let's adjust those styles. And I think we just want to make our search form. I think we can just make our input width 100%. I don't even think we need Flexbox up here. There isn't anything else in here if I take that button out. I think I have to put 100% on the outer container. Oh, we needed both. Okay, fine. Look at how much more flexibility we get now. Now we get the flexibility we need. What's happening to these buttons though? They're still staying the same width. Yeah, they are. I think we definitely need padding over here that we don't need here because there's already space. So probably we want to just make sure that these header item containers. Okay, if we're going to take this button out, let's just take it out. I'm going to take out this class, and I don't think we're going to need search container for anything. And I don't think that we need Flexbox here. I do think that this header item needs a little bit of padding. So I think that we could just say padding, 0 on the top and bottom, 0.5 rems on the left and right. There we go. That beautiful. That is perfect. Look at that. You can see now that even on a small size, there's still space inside that container. And there's our skip nav. Okay, so where does this really hold up to? The thing now that we need to make sure that we're adjusting for is the search. So can we get to 960? I say we can. I say we can, but do we want to? There's 1024. I think for this search to be usable, it needs to be 1024, but we've got space around all of our elements. We don't have to hide anything else. So yeah, 1024 it is. Okay, good. So let's get back to our navigation right here. So now we're doing something completely different, aren't we? So our default state is menu active. So do we want to, how do we programmatically deal with that on mobile? We could just have everything be opposite of what it actually means. So our navigation, now I'm going to go back to a width of 300 pixels. And then obviously this is still menu active because that's the default state. And the transform translate X is negative 300 pixels. If we take away that state, transform translate X back to 0, right? Oh, and we do still have to set a width here. Yeah, maybe if it's hidden, it doesn't matter, maybe, right? And it's probably going to have to be fixed at this point. Yeah, it is going to have to be fixed at this point. Or at the very least, position absolute. No, fixed, because we're going to move the whole thing. So we'll just say fixed. So it will be position fixed. Top 0. Left 0. I mean, are we just resetting all of this for mobile? Is that what we're doing? Boy, I really have to think about this. It's the opposite of how I've ever done it. And it doesn't make sense to do it the way I've always done it, because now we're saying it's menu active by default, but it's off canvas. That's not active. That's the opposite of active. So it makes me feel like we have to get the width of the window, remove menu active, or just use a different class name, or maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Let's keep going. Let's at least get maybe semantics aren't that important right now, and we can just get this all working. And then that can be our technical debt, right? So I do want this to be fixed. I know that this is going to be a width of 300 pixels, a height 100%. Hopefully that works. I don't like opposite land. Opposite land is confusing. And I don't like that little, what it's doing up there. So 70.4. This is just going to be temporary till I iron out some of these things. Oh, I don't know if this is going to work. 70.4. Well, I guess we could transition the top also, so I don't actually see it. Yeah, I'm still seeing it. Although maybe it doesn't, it might not matter because we have to move this too. We have to shift that too. So, wow. I don't know how many times I'm going to do this to myself. Find myself thoroughly confused by the build that I chose to do. I mean, I'm not disappointed about it at all. I love the challenge, but I'm also just like, when will it end? Yeah, see, probably what we need to do is at 1024, we need to take this header now and we need to shift it off to the side. So our navigation is hidden. We will work out the details with the transitions as needed. So now our navigation is officially fixed and off canvas. Our main, now we have to change this to just being one big container. Okay. right here. Grid template columns, we'll just say 1FR. Whoops. All right. All right, I'm actually good. I'm actually good with this. How many people are going to do this? Only the developers. Emilio is here lurking. We love a lurker. We love Emilio. Okay. So now our header, which is display grid. How do we flip that? Now we need to flip it. So what does that mean? Does that mean then that our body is now the grid container? The header gets flipped to the left. Skip nav's already fixed. Then we have the main, then we have the footer. I know there's a way to do that because I remember I took the Brad Traversy CSS Grid tutorial. That's what I did. So if you're just joining us, I want to flip the header like this. I looked to Pinterest for a little bit of inspiration about how to make this work on mobile. And my thinking was I would take the header and flip it over to the left and make it a column. So if our header is display grid template columns, would this switch to grid template rows? Is that what this would switch to? Oh, well, I suppose this only has 2 containers. So then this is also grid. This would probably already switch to rows. And Bob's your uncle. All right, well, that's how we're going to switch it. We're just going to switch this and this to grid, from grid template columns to grid template rows. And then our body, honestly, I'm just going to do flexbox on the body. I think that's going to be the best way to do this. Emilio says that he sent a goat trophy for 1,000 jewels. I don't know what that means, but it sounds nice. I like jewels. I'll take jewels. Sunny is here and says, I always make those 2 different elements and hide and show them depending on viewport. Sorry, just joined and hearing what you just said you were doing. No, it's no apologies necessary, Sunny. We've been wrestling with responsive styles for the last 90 minutes or so. Yeah. So we're hiding the navigation. We're already doing that, hiding and showing the navigation. I want this header to flip to a column and lay to the left, and I think this is exactly how we're going to do it. So let's do media queries for this. So this is going to be now, let's find our header. This is exciting. This is so exciting. Oh, goat. Well, so I knew what goat meant. Greatest of all time. Thank you. I appreciate that. And it says it's a little gift that YouTube allows you to send. Oh, here it is. Emilio sent a goat trophy. Here it is. Hang on, I can show you. I still have not found a good solution for the chat. So here it is. Thank you, Emilio. Appreciate that. I gave it a little heart. Emilio has been very generous and very kind to me. I appreciate him a lot. He found me back when I was, I think, had less than, if you can remember, tell me, Emilio, I think I had less than 500 subscribers, maybe even less than 200 or 300. I'm not even sure. Which, speaking of which, this might be a good time to ask people to kindly like the video if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you. I stream 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. We just practice vanilla. That's it. It's just for people who enjoy trad coding. That's the new term that I heard the Primogen use, and I love it. It describes it exactly as how I think of it, right? Especially when we are having all these conversations about AI. We're just trad coding. That's all it is. So, Sunny says, have you tried with less than 800 pixels versus max with 800 pixels for media queries? I have done that before. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm just doing something that is a habit. So yes. For years, I was a min width person, like I was in the habit of doing everything as mobile first min width. I've switched back to max width, which is what I originally learned, and it just sort of works for me. But yeah, you could definitely do width greater than 800 pixels or with less than 800 pixels. Yeah, could definitely do that too. So there's that. Okay. Let's figure this out. So this is we need to do the header and we need to do the top header, and we can get these into a column. So let's see here. So here's header right here. This is 1200. At media. Max width 1024. It's just how I learned. It's just turned into a habit at this point. Header. So we're going to change this to grid template rows. And then here, our top header. I don't normally spread my media queries out like this, but I'm doing it now until we get our CSS a little more organized, which there will be refactoring. Just trying to get some base styles in. So we'll do this. And this is also going to be rows. Whoops. Well, it worked in the browser. Let's see what happened here. Did this not work when we tested it in the browser? Oh, we have to undo that. That's why. So we have to say, we probably have to do something like unset, right? Or none, if it lets us do none. None is better than unset. All right, there we go. So now that turns our So then are we going to treat our body like I kind of just want to treat the body like display flex then. That's my instinct. Sunny says CSS has been on a tear with new syntax and I love it. Honestly, thank you for that comment. That's a really that's a I like I like comments like that because they're reminders that I'm probably not doing as good a job keeping up with that. One moment, hold please. I can absolutely admit that I'm still doing things the way I learned them over a decade ago because I'm very comfortable with how a lot of the syntax I use works. So that's a good reminder that it might be a good time if anybody can recommend a course or a tutorial where I could get caught up on some of the newer syntax. I should probably do that because I know that there's a lot of new stuff out there. So, okay, so let's just kind of treat our body like flex, I guess like Flexbox, because I know things are going to get weird. Let's just do this. But we are going to want to do this on mobile, right? At media. Max width 1024. Body. Say display flex. And just for the heck of it, we'll say display block. For desktop. Flex. Flow. Row. I'm going to say wrap because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get my footer, right? Because we basically have three things. We have our header, we have our main, and we have our footer. And I need to make sure that this footer, we'll probably just say footer 100% width, right? And then the header and the main can duke it out. Justify content. Well, I don't know. What's the default? Is it stretch? So maybe we don't need anything. I think align items default is also stretch. We wouldn't need gap. Okay. What's going on here? Oh, pixels. And then this. Oh, well, yeah, I think we're going to have to give these each a width. Boy, I didn't choose an easy layout, did I? Okay, so here's our header. Let's just give this a width. Can't we just do flex auto for each of these? So we would do flex auto. Where's our main? No, you're gonna make me give you a width. Kevin Powell is a great resource. Yeah, actually, I forgot about Kevin. That's a good point. Osloy says maybe you can get an LLM to make a curriculum for you to learn the new CSS syntax. Honestly, that's also a great idea. We just did that with JavaScript. Sunny says LLMs are pretty behind on new CSS actually. Kind of cool space to be in because AI hasn't consumed that knowledge yet. Yeah, I mean, I really do not want AI anywhere near my CSS. That's my own personal experience. It's great for JavaScript. It's been fantastic for me learning JavaScript, but I don't want it anywhere near my CSS. So that's good to know that somebody has that insight. Um, I'm definitely going to check out Kevin Powell, though. I bet he's got a lot of new stuff that I haven't looked at. Okay. Oh, yeah, we want this to be, oh, row no rep, probably. Hmm. There we go. And then that puts our button way down at the bottom and it covers it up. This was a terrible idea. This was not a good idea. Okay. So I'm going to need to go back to the drawing board on our plan for mobile. We've got some issues with mobile. Yeah, we've got some issues with mobile. Hmm. I mean, that's okay. How else do you learn? If you don't, I've never styled a dashboard before. I style landing pages and websites. Um, it's very clear. It's just such a clear process to make a landing page or a website where you've got navigation on desktop and then you hide it for mobile and it's in an off-canvas drawer. And this is completely different. And I am glad that I chose this. It honestly didn't even occur to me that I would run into some of these things. I knew it would be challenging to style a dashboard like this for mobile, but this didn't quite occur to me. So we do need to kind of go back to the drawing board. I might do a little bit of work off camera to come up with a better plan because I definitely don't want to waste 2 hours streaming, stumbling around and doing things that don't work because I kind of feel like it wastes the time of the people who are here. Even though you are all very generous and you tell me that you're here to learn and hear about the thought process, I still want to make it efficient for all of us. So I think I might do a little work off camera, off stream to come up with a better solution because I do want to get this layout nailed down by this weekend so we can really start doing the things that I wanted to do in a dashboard layout which is more JavaScript, more API work, more data and transforming work, right? So I will figure that out before this weekend and come up with a better plan. Today was not a waste though, because now I know what I'm up against. I know what I need to figure out. Mm-hmm. And I do still like my idea. I do still like this. But clearly, this may not work. Even if we changed the order of this, you can change the order with Flexbox. I know you could probably change the order with Grid too. You're still not going to get the correct keyboard experience because it is where it is in the DOM. Look at it down there. That's clearly that's not going to work. But I don't think this is, but at the same time, I don't think this is the worst idea in the world. I don't want to see, my other instinct is that maybe we flip the order and we put the header on the right. I don't exactly think there's anything wrong with changing the order of things, but then again, I think that's an accessibility issue. I don't think you're supposed to do that. And it causes problems with keyboard navigation. And I just think it's too clever for my own good. I don't think that's exactly the right way to deal with it. So I'm just not sure. I need to think about it. We could just hide the navigation in the other direction. We could do that too. Uh, but then we're covering up this button until we get all the way down to mobile. I don't know. We need to think about it. It's the accessibility that really, yeah, it's the accessibility that really trips me up a little bit, right? But that's important. It needs to be accessible. So, okay. Well, everybody, thank you for coming to hang out with me today. I appreciate you all. Malik Robinson was here. Let's see here. Loki was here. Fernando was here. Malik Robinson and Emilio, they were the mods in the chat. Asante was here. Osloy. Priya was here. Love from India. Anathaya, I hope I'm saying that correctly, was here. Andrew Irwin was here. Sunny. Yeah, everybody, thanks so much. Come back and hang out with me this weekend. We will get these mobile styles nailed down. Hopefully we can deploy on Sunday. I would love to be able to deploy on Sunday. It might not be till next week. We shall see. I guess it takes as long as it takes, right? I think the important thing is that we are learning and figuring things out and experimenting and having fun and keeping our skills fresh and sharp. So with that being said, do me a favor, like the video if you haven't already. I would appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new here. Those things really help the algorithm, helps get this content pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of thing. I'm here 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you this weekend. Mwah. Bye.